I'm staring at divorce papers in a corner office 42 floors above Denver, trying to decide if ending my marriage is a strategy or surrender. And for the first time in months, I'm wondering if I'm about to pull the trigger without having all the intelligence. I sit alone in my office, the city spread out beneath me like a map of someone else's life. Denver looks clean from up here. Predictable highways, steady lights, orderly traffic. It's a lie, the same way my marriage has been a lie we both participated in. On my desk sits the thick stack of divorce papers I drew up 3 months ago. They feel less like legal documents and more like an operational kill switch I've been too disciplined to flip. My name is Ryan Harris, 39, former Marine, now corporate security director for a Fortune 500 firm that values me because I see problems before they become disasters. I've spent my life reading threats, anticipating failure points, and compartmentalizing fear into something small, something manageable. Fear doesn't control me. It informs me. That's the difference between leadership and panic. Always has been. The top page reads Harris versus Harris, and seeing it again hits like a punch to the sternum. Controlled, expected, but still real. I give the quick version. I met Megan at a corporate event years ago. I wasn't looking for anything, but her laugh, the unguarded kind that slips out before a person remembers who they're supposed to be, caught me off balance. We fast-tracked everything. Dating, moving in, marriage. My friends said it was too quick. I dismissed them because caution is for war zones, not relationships. That was my first mistake. I built our marriage the same way I built every security system I've ever engineered. Efficient, controlled, fortified. I provided a house in a good neighborhood, a career with upward trajectory, a bank account that never dipped into worry. I thought that was love, or at least the version I'd been trained to understand. In the early years, it worked well enough. I ran my schedule with military precision. She adjusted her life around mine. We didn't fight. We didn't struggle. And looking back, that's because I never let anything get messy enough to require actual vulnerability. I mistook silence for peace. I mistook order for intimacy. I made a mistake. Now, we're two polite strangers sharing square footage. Separate bedrooms. Polite dinners. A house so neat it feels museum staged. Like any real emotion might set off an alarm I installed myself. 3 months ago, after finding another one of her thin excuses to avoid being in the same room, I had these papers drawn up. The pen was in my hand. I was a breath away from signing, but a Marine instinct hit me, that quiet itch under the ribs that says, "You are missing critical intel. Don't move until you know why." So I filed the papers on my desk. Not out of romance, out of discipline. You don't call in an airstrike because the terrain looks suspicious. You wait for confirmation. Now I'm looking at the same stack again, and nothing about the situation feels clearer. The marriage is failing, that much is obvious. But the question that haunts me, the one I haven't admitted out loud, is whether it's failing for the reasons I've assumed, or for reasons I've been too blind, too controlled, too damn stubborn to see. I lean back in my chair and look out over the city, the weight of 10 unsigned pages pressing against me like a loaded weapon. End the mission or reassess. Pull the pin or secure it. Act or pause. I'm a man trained to choose decisively, but only with complete information. The truth is simple and ugly. I don't know if I'm about to end my marriage because it's dead, or because I've been too well trained to see the wound underneath. And that's the part that keeps my hand off the pen. I drive home on autopilot, following the same route I've taken 1,000 times, knowing exactly what I'll find when I walk through the door. And the truth hits me harder than anything from my military career. I built the safest house in the neighborhood, and it's the last place I want to be. Denver traffic at 6 p.m. is predictable, which is why I don't mind it. Predictability gives me something to hold on to. I merge, accelerate, brake, all without thinking. Muscle memory mixed with boredom. My mind is somewhere else entirely. On the papers I left face up on my office desk. On the way Megan said goodbye this morning without making eye contact. On the feeling that my life has narrowed into routines instead of choices. I pull into our neighborhood, manicured lawns, security lights, the quiet hum of upper-middle-class stability. A place where nothing goes wrong on the outside. The house sits exactly where I left it, Two-story colonial, white trim, navy shutters. Cameras cover every angle because I installed them myself. Reinforced locks, motion sensors. I built it to be impenetrable. Inside, it's silent enough to hear the HVAC system cycle. There's a note on the kitchen counter in Megan's handwriting. Fast, rushed, the kind she uses when she wants to say as little as possible. At Olivia's for dinner. Don't wait up. Logistics. Nothing more. I stand there for a second, note in hand, feeling stupid for expecting anything different. I make a sandwich, turkey, mustard, nothing special, and eat it standing at the counter. Sitting at the dining table alone feels like staging a tragedy. I wash the plate immediately, dry it, and put it back exactly where it belongs. Order is easier than thinking. Then I do what I always do. Check doors, windows, alarm panels. A soldier's walkthrough. A habit that used to comfort me. Now it feels like busy work designed to fill space Megan and I no longer share. I stop outside the guest room, her room now. The door is closed. I don't knock. I haven't knocked in months. That's our routine. Two adults moving around each other like friendly tenants renting the same roof. I sleep badly. I woke up early. Same pattern. At work the next morning, Jenna, my assistant, eyes me like she's scanning for damage. She's efficient, sharp, doesn't pry, but she knows me well enough to sense when something's off. You okay, Ryan? I'm fine. Smooth delivery. She lets it go. I bury myself in reports, audits, threat assessments, all the things I'm good at because they make sense. Problems that have solutions if you're smart enough to find them. Around noon, my phone buzzes. Megan. I stare at the screen longer than I should before answering. Her tone is tight, polite, businesslike. We need to go to Daniel and Karen Foster's party Saturday night. I rub a hand across my jaw. Why? Appearances. No hesitation. People talk. She's right. The Fosters host every quarter. It's where executives mingle, where spouses are judged, where couples are evaluated like corporate assets. Showing up separately would raise every eyebrow in the room. Fine, I say. Same flat tone I use for assignments I can't avoid. Good. She doesn't ask how I am. I don't ask where we stand. We hang up cleanly, like professionals concluding a meeting. I sit back in my office chair and let the reality settle. Our marriage used to be something we chose. Now it's something we manage to avoid rumors. Later that night, the house feels even emptier than before. I run diagnostics on the security system because it gives me something to fix, something to understand. Meanwhile, the one thing I can't fix, the silence between us, hums louder than any alarm. I look around this fortress I built, the one with every possible entry point covered. And it hits me, the breach didn't come from outside. It came from inside the walls. And no amount of steel or code or protocol can stop that. Megan and I walk into the Fosters' flawless, showpiece home looking like a couple who still works, still tries, still wants each other. But an hour later, in a dark study behind a half-open set of French doors, I hear the truth that blows my entire narrative apart. Daniel and Karen Foster live in one of those neighborhoods where the sidewalks are wide, the windows are oversized, and the driveways look polished even under moonlight. It's a place built for appearances, which means it's perfect for pretending your marriage isn't quietly eroding from the inside out. Megan sits beside me in the car, silent but composed. She's wearing a dark blue dress that fits her in a way that momentarily scrambles my brain. I catch myself staring at her profile, the curve of her jaw, the simple line of her neck. For half a second, I forget the divorce papers, the separate rooms, the sinking weight of expectations we've stopped meeting. Then she steps out of the car without waiting for me, and the spell breaks. Inside, the Foster's house is exactly what you'd expect from two people who care about being admired. Perfect lighting, perfect decor, perfectly curated art that says we're successful, but we want you to know we're tasteful too. Everything in its right place, everything except us. Within minutes, we split off like trained performers hitting our marks. She moves toward a circle of women, Karen, a few executives' wives, and her best friend, Olivia Grant. I gravitate toward Daniel, who wants to talk to me about real estate, the market, volatility, the usual language of men who think small talk is strategy. I nod, sip my drink, and watch the room through the reflection in the window. Megan is smiling, but it's the tight smile she uses when she's performing. Her shoulders are slightly raised, her posture defensive. I read people for a living. My wife is no exception. After an hour of handshakes, forced laughs, and conversations that matter to nobody, I excuse myself and slip into the study. It's quieter there. Leather chairs, mahogany desk, an overdone display of success. I closed the door halfway and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. For once, I'm not thinking about threats or exit routes. I'm just trying to breathe in a house that smells like money and pressure. That's when I hear voices through the French doors leading to the terrace. 2 women on the other side, close enough that I catch tone before words. Olivia first, sharp but soft. "You can't keep living like this, Meg. You're suffocating." I freeze. Megan responds, voice low and brittle. "I know. God, I know. But I can't keep failing him." "Failing me? I should walk away. I know that. You don't eavesdrop. You don't gather intel that isn't meant for you. But discipline has limits. And hearing your wife talk about your marriage like it's a sinking ship, that overrides protocol." I stay still, silent, listening. "He terrifies me," Megan whispers. The words hit like a fist. My jaw goes tight. My pulse climbs. But Olivia's quick. "Meg, Ryan's never laid a hand on you." "That's not what I mean." Her voice breaks, soft but clear. "It's his stare. That cold, focused stare. It's the same look Mark had before before things got bad. Her ex, the one she never talks about." She keeps going, faster now. Confessions spilling out like she's been holding them in with both hands. "I know Ryan isn't him. I know that logically. But every time he goes quiet or intense, my whole body reacts. I flinch before I can stop myself. And then I feel stupid and ashamed. And I keep pulling back because I don't want him to see how broken I still am. Something inside me shifts. Not anger, not hurt. Something heavier. Something final. She isn't disgusted with me. She's scared of ghosts. And he deserves better. Megan adds, voice cracking. He deserves a woman who doesn't fall apart over shadows. Not someone who's terrified of the one man who's done nothing but keep her safe. I brace a hand on the desk. Everything I thought I knew, every assumption, every quiet theory, collapses under the weight of that one moment. I leave the study before they see me, slip out of the house through the side door, and get into my car. My hands are shaking on the wheel, not from rage, but from the sudden realization that my entire marriage, every cold night and quiet argument, has been built on misread intel. I drive home alone, headlights cutting through the dark Denver streets, and say it out loud to no one. The mission parameters just changed, and I have no idea what the new objective is yet. I sat in the dark waiting for Megan to come home. Divorce papers spread out like a map of a battlefield I'd completely misread. And when she walked in and realized what I knew, everything detonated at once. I get home first. The house is dark, quiet, and sterile. I don't turn on the lights. I want the room exactly the way it has felt for months. A cold stage set for 2 people pretending everything is under control. I lay the divorce papers out on the coffee table. 10 pages. 10 months of distance. 10,000 misinterpretations. I study them like evidence. Every unchecked box feels like a different version of failure. Now that I know the truth, her fear, the ghost she's been fighting, the papers don't look clean anymore. They look premature. They look like a tactical retreat based on bad intel. And that's the one thing I was trained never to do. Withdraw without understanding the enemy. Around midnight, I hear her keys in the lock. The door opens. She steps inside, sees me in the dark, and startles, hand flying to her chest. "Ryan, Jesus, why are you sitting here like that?" I don't soften my voice. I don't raise it either. Controlled, steady. "We need to talk." She freezes. "About what?" "About you calling yourself a coward tonight. And about why you think I'm leaving." Her face drains of color. She understands instantly. You heard. Yes. Her breath stutters. Shoulders cave inward. She looks physically smaller, like something inside her collapses. Sit down, I say. Instead, she grips the back of the armchair like she needs it to stay upright. Why didn't you tell me? Ask. Why didn't you say you were scared? Why didn't you tell me you thought I'd turn into him? Her eyes widen. Fear, shame, disbelief all hitting at once. Ryan, I didn't mean, I wasn't talking about. You were, I cut in. You were honest. Probably for the first time in months. Her breathing goes ragged. Too fast. Too shallow. First, I thought she's crying. Then I recognized the signs. Trembling hands, unfocused eyes, chest heaving like she can't get air. Panic attack. And it's happening because of me. Hey, I say, dropping to my knees in front of her. Palms up. No sudden movements. Marine instincts firing clean and automatic. Look at me. You're safe. You're okay. Breathe with me. She shakes her head, tears streaming now. I can't. I can't. It won't stop. It will. Keep my voice low, even. In through your nose. Slow. Hold. Out through your mouth. She tries. Fails. Try again. Her breaths hitch, break, spiral. Not enough. I reach for my phone. Megan. I'm calling 911. No, she gasps. Please don't. I'm not losing you on my living room floor because we avoided one conversation too many. The dispatcher keeps me calm. The paramedics arrive fast. I ride with her, hand on her shoulder. The two of us washed in fluorescent light and the antiseptic smell of an ER that's seen far worse. She clings to my sleeve the whole time. The doctor, mid-50s, calm, voice like gravel softened by experience, explains it cleanly. Acute panic disorder, likely triggered by prolonged stress and emotional fear. When he asks about stress at home, Megan breaks. Our marriage is falling apart, she blurts. And it's my fault. She's shaking again, but the monitors help regulate her breathing. This is the moment I should comfort her, or apologize, or say something tender. Instead, I do what I know, honesty delivered straight, no sugar. I had divorce papers drawn up 3 months ago. Her head snaps toward me, eyes wide with devastation. Keep going. I thought ending things would make your life easier, cleaner. I thought I was the problem. I thought you were done. A tear slips down her cheek. You weren't supposed to know any of this. I know. I sit beside the bed, elbows on my knees. But now I do. And here's the deal. I'm not leaving unless you look me in the eye and tell me you don't want this marriage anymore. Not because you're scared. Not because you think you're broken. Not because you think I deserve better. Only if you truly want out. She shakes her head violently. I don't want to go out. I don't know how to fix any of this. I feel like I'm ruining you. You're not ruining me, I say. You're just telling me what's real. She whispers it then. So soft I almost miss it. I still love you. It hits like a shot fired directly into the part of my chest I keep armored. I take her hand. Not dramatic. Not romantic. Just firm, real contact in a room that smells like disinfectant and broken pride. Then we rebuild. I say, no more guesses, no more silence. We fight for it. She nods, exhausted, but present. For the first time in months, we're on the same side of the table. A few days after the ER, Megan and I sit in a therapist's office like two soldiers waiting for orders neither of us wants to follow. And before the hour is up, it becomes clear we haven't been living the same marriage at all. Dr. Patricia Collins' office smells like lavender and experience. A combination I don't trust but respect. She's in her 60s, silver hair pulled tight, posture straight as a parade ground inspector. I picked her because she reminded me of a commanding officer. Calm, no nonsense, the kind of woman who has seen enough human messes to know how to handle two more. Megan sits on one end of the couch. I sit on the other. The gap between us feels like a country border. Dr. Collins looks at us over her glasses. Why are you here? I answer first. Clean, simple, mission briefing tone. Our marriage is failing. We've spent the last year tearing it apart. We want to see if there's anything left worth salvaging. Megan jumps in fast. It's my fault. No, Dr. Collins says, sharp and immediate. That's not how this works. And the fact that your first instinct is to take all the blame tells me you two aren't operating from the same reality. She picks up a notebook. Describe your marriage in 3 words. You first, Ryan. Cold. Silent. Failing. She nods. Megan swallows. Terrifying. Lonely. My fault. I sit up straighter. Terrifying. She won't look at me. Not you. Not who you are. Just the quiet. The intensity. The waiting. Dr. Collins underlines something. Good. Now we're getting somewhere. The session becomes anatomy, cutting open the stories we've been telling ourselves. I explain how I thought I'd done everything right. Provided, protected, planned. How I believed that if the house was safe, the bank account stable, and my temper controlled, then I was doing my job as a husband. Megan explains how she's been waiting for the other shoe to drop. The moment I'd snap, change, reveal some hidden cruelty she's been conditioned to expect. How every time I went quiet, she braced for impact from a man who wasn't me. 2 narratives. Same events. Completely different interpretations. Dr. Collins folds her hands. You're not communicating. You're translating each other through old wounds and faulty codes. Logic won't fix this, Ryan. And Megan, fear won't either. She gives us homework, ridiculously simple on paper, impossibly awkward in practice. Nightly dinners. No phones. No TV. No distractions. Just talk. I want to reject it. I want a mission plan, a checklist, and a tactical solution. Instead, we get pasta and silence. That first dinner at home feels like being dropped into an unmarked combat zone with no briefing. The table is too big, her eyes are too guarded, and my tongue feels like it's made of stone. Finally, I say, combat training never taught me how to talk about feelings over spaghetti. It's not funny, but Megan snorts anyway. A quick, surprised sound that cracks the tension like a fault line forming. And that tiny, reluctant laugh opens the door just enough. She talks first, not about us but about work, her day, her anxiety. I listen, not for threats, for meaning. For the first time in months, we're not avoiding each other. We're trying. It's clumsy as hell, but it's real. After weeks of therapy and awkward dinners that feel more like training exercises than conversations, Megan finally starts to talk. And what she tells me about her past forces me to rethink every silence we've ever shared. The next few weeks reshape my life in ways I didn't expect. I cut my hours at work, tell my team I'll be gone by 6 every night unless the building is literally on fire. They look at me like I've grown another head. Doesn't matter. I made a promise. Megan and I sit down every night with plates between us and no distractions. At first it's stiff, mechanical questions, clipped answers, too much eye contact or not enough. But repetition creates rhythm, even in the most resistant environments. One night, halfway through a simple dinner, chicken, rice, nothing fancy, Megan looks up at me and says, I need to tell you something about before us. Her tone is different. This isn't logistics. This is a confession. She tells me about her college boyfriend, the charming one, the one everyone liked, the one who slowly, methodically dismantled her confidence, the one who used silence as a weapon, anger as leverage, and his stare, that cold, assessing stare, as the warning before things got physical. It wasn't every night, she says, which made it worse. I never knew when it was coming. I spent years waiting for an impact that didn't always arrive. I grip my fork so hard it bends. I'm fine, she adds quickly. I got out. I've been safe for years. Safe doesn't mean healed, I tell her. She nods. No, it doesn't. Then she says it, the part I've been bracing for ever since that night at the Foster's party. When you go quiet, Ryan, when you get that stare, my body reacts before my mind does. It thinks you're him. I force myself not to move, not to clench my jaw, not to stand up and walk out to find a man I'd happily drag through concrete. But this isn't a mission. This is my wife sitting across from me with her truth finally on the table. I'm listening, I say. It's the hardest sentence I've said all year. She exhales like she's been drowning and finally hit air. Therapy continues. Slowly, messily. We keep our dinners. We start doing small things together, watching a show on the same couch, running errands side by side, inhabiting the same room without tension. Dr. Collins suggests a shared activity that doesn't require constant talking. Hiking. Colorado has more trails than excuses, and fresh air tends to blunt sharp edges. I suggest it. Megan hesitates, then nods. Okay, but nothing too intense. Just a trail, I tell her. Not a test. We drive into the foothills on a Saturday morning. The weather is solid, clear sky, light wind, enough sun to keep the chill off. She looks tense at first, arms tucked close, steps cautious. We walk mostly in silence. But it's a different kind of silence, not avoidance, not fear. Just two people in the same space, letting nature do some of the heavy lifting. Halfway up, we stop at a ridge that looks out over Denver. The city is a neat grid in the distance, small enough to feel irrelevant. Megan rests her hands on her hips, breathing hard but steady. I used to hike all the time, she says. Stopped when things got bad between us. Why? I ask, keeping my tone neutral. She looks at the horizon. Because being alone with you felt dangerous. She catches herself and winces. Not because of anything you did. Just proximity felt like pressure. And I didn't know how to handle pressure anymore. I take that hit without flinching. It's not an accusation. It's evidence. I buried myself in work so I wouldn't have to see it. I admit. Figuring avoiding the room was better than saying the wrong thing. We really became experts at avoidance, she says with a dark little laugh. Team effort, I answer. On the way back to the car, something shifts. Not in the conversation, but in the way she walks beside me. Closer, looser. Her shoulders drop. Her steps match mine without effort. We get into the car. I start the engine, pull onto the highway. Then it happens, small, quiet, seismic. Megan reaches over and rests her hand on mine where it sits on the gearshift. Her voice is barely above a whisper. Thank you. For what? For not giving up. For having those divorce papers but not signing them. For dragging me into therapy even though I hated you for it at first. I turn my hand over and interlace our fingers. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just solid. I'm not good at this emotional shit, I tell her. But I'm learning. She squeezes my hand. Just once. Enough to feel it. Enough to mean it. And on that dark stretch of highway, with her hand in mine, it feels like we're finally heading in the same direction. In our next therapy session, Megan finally tells me exactly what about me triggers her fear. And when I explain what that cold stare really is, the entire foundation of our misunderstanding cracks open. 2 months into therapy, Dr. Collins decides we're ready for what she calls specific identification. I call it interrogation, but the gentler kind, the kind where you don't get to hide behind yes or no answers. She looks at Megan first. Name the exact behaviors that trigger your fear response. Megan hesitates. Look at me. Look away. Her hands twist in her lap. You can say it, I tell her. I'm here. She nods, bracing herself. It's your stare. My what? She swallows. The cold, calculating one. The look you get when you're quiet and thinking. It's the same look Mark had right before he'd turn. Angry. Or worse. Hearing another man's name in that context lights something volatile in my chest. But I keep still. I know you're not him, she adds quickly. But my body doesn't know the difference. Every time you get that look, it reacts like I'm 20 again and about to get hurt. For the first time, the fear in her eyes makes sense. The way she'd tense when I walked into a room, the way she'd pull back when I focused on something harder than usual. Dr. Collins turns to me. Your turn. What does that stare mean on your end? I let out a breath. Slow. Controlled. It means I'm assessing. Megan looks confused. Assessing what? Everything, I say. Threats. Variables. Options. That's how I stayed alive in the Marines. How I kept the men under me alive. We were trained to scan, evaluate, predict. That stare isn't anger. It's a calculation. It's me trying to figure out the safest course of action. She blinks like she's hearing English translated into a language she didn't know she understood. When I look at you like that, I continue. I'm not preparing to explode. I'm trying to solve something. I'm trying to keep us safe. I thought being calm and quiet made things better. Megan presses a hand to her mouth. The realization hits her almost physically. Dr. Collins taps her pen on her knee. This is exactly what I mean by incompatible narratives. You're both reading the same expression through different histories. His training tells him silence equals focus. Your trauma tells you silence equals danger. The room goes quiet, but not the bad kind. The understanding kind. Then comes the work. Dr. Collins recommends deliberate retraining, new patterns to override old instincts. For me, that means changing how I enter a room, softening my body language, announcing myself instead of appearing silently like I've been trained to, saying what I'm thinking instead of staring at the floor and running calculations in my head. For Megan, it means naming her reactions out loud instead of retreating. One night, a week after that session, she pauses while we're brushing our teeth and says, "I know you're not angry. My body just thinks you are." I nod. I get it. And I do. Really do. Rewiring ourselves isn't clean. It isn't fast. There are bad nights, missteps, old patterns that creep back in like weeds. But then there are moments that hit like breakthroughs. 3 months after the ER, we climb into bed, the same bed, without hesitation or retreat. No fear. No stiff body language. Just the two of us lying shoulder to shoulder like we used to. When things turn intimate, it isn't fireworks. It isn't a perfect movie scene. It's cautious, slow, honest. But afterward, she rests her head on my chest, and her fingers draw lazy lines across my shoulder like she's relearning the map of me. In that quiet, I tell the audience the truth I don't say out loud. It doesn't feel like reclaiming sex. It feels like reclaiming trust. The kind built from the ground up after nearly losing everything. And that makes it stronger than anything we had before. 6 months after the hospital night, I find the one artifact of our almost ending tucked under a bed that's no longer hers. And instead of ignoring it like I did before, I carry it downstairs and put it right between us. The guest room isn't a guest room anymore. We've been turning it into a shared office. 2 desks, 2 chairs, one space deliberately built for us instead of separation. I'm moving furniture when I spot it again. The suitcase. Dark gray, half-packed, hidden like contraband. The last time I found it, I put it back quietly because I thought signing the divorce papers was the cleaner extraction. But that was before the panic attack. Before therapy. Before Megan's hand found mine on a dark highway. I pull the suitcase out and open it. The clothes inside are folded with precision, the kind of folding you do when you're not sure if you'll ever come back. And nestled in the side pocket is the sealed envelope with my name on it. Ryan written in her handwriting, but smaller. Almost apologetic. This time, I didn't tuck it away. I carry both the suitcase and the letter downstairs and set them on the couch like evidence in a trial we're finally ready to hold. When she walks in after work and sees them, she goes pale. Her hand clamps the door frame for balance. "I thought we were past this," she whispers. "We are," I say. "That's why we're dealing with it together." She doesn't move until I pat the couch beside me. It takes her a few seconds, but she sits, stiff, braced, ready for an impact that isn't coming. I hold up the envelope. We open it now, side by side, no secrets left behind. Her fingers tremble as she breaks the seal. She hands me half the letter and keeps the other half. We read it together in silence. It's her goodbye, her apology, her attempt to spare me by leaving before I realized she was too damaged to love. I feel something in my chest tighten in a way I haven't felt since deployment. That mix of anger, grief, and clarity that hits when you understand how close you came to losing someone for the wrong reason. She wipes her face. That woman. The one who wrote that. She really thought leaving you was the only way to keep you safe from her mess. That woman was scared, I say. This one is trying. She lets out a shaky laugh. Trying looks ugly most days. Trying is enough. We fold the letter together. Not neatly, not ceremonially, just real, human, imperfect. Then we walk it to the fireplace, the one we never use except for decoration, and I hand her the lighter. You start it, I tell her. Your letter, your closure. The paper catches fast. Flames curl the edges, turn her old fear into ash. She watches it burn with a mix of sadness and relief, like she's attending a funeral for a version of herself she doesn't need anymore. The suitcase gets emptied next. Clothes into laundry, shoes onto the floor, toiletries tossed. The shell of the suitcase goes into the donation pile. No going back. No emergency exits left hidden under beds. Months pass. Work is steady. Therapy continues. We're not perfect, but we're present. On our anniversary, I come home with the other artifact of our almost ending. The divorce papers I kept in my office drawer for a year. She sees them and winces. God, those. Yeah, I say. Time to finish this. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we shared months of silent dinners, then months of awkward ones, then finally conversations that didn't feel like negotiations. A bottle of wine between us. A shredder humming on the floor like a small mechanical witness. Megan raises her glass. Say something profound. I'm not built for profoundness, I tell her. But here's my best shot. These papers belong to a version of us that ran from hard conversations. I'm done running. She nods, eyes sharp and clear. Me too. We feed the pages into the shredder one by one. The machine eats them, spits out white confetti that falls around our feet like snow from a sky that forgot to be cold. Later, Megan mixes the shreds with the ashes from her burned letter in a metal bowl. And that weekend, we hiked up to the same overlook where she first reached for my hand months earlier. The wind is strong, cold, honest. The city sprawls beneath us like a map of every mistake we've made. Together, we scatter the ash confetti mixture into the air. The swirls, lifts, disappears. Not dramatic, not symbolic in some poetic way. Just two people destroying the exit routes so the only direction left is forward. Months after destroying the escape routes, I finally understand what kind of marriage we're building now. And it's not perfect, but it's real and it's ours. There's an after. Not the fairy tale version. Not the Hollywood montage. Just a new normal built brick by brick in a house that used to echo with silence. The place smells different now. Actual food, not takeout. Spices in pans. Burned toast on Sundays because Megan still can't time a toaster to save her life. We watch movies on the same couch instead of opposite ends of the house. We argue sometimes, real arguments, not the cold, weaponized quiet we used to sharpen against each other. Coworkers notice. A few weeks back, Jenna gave me a look like she'd spotted a glitch in the matrix. You seem lighter, she said. I didn't have a good answer then. I barely have one now. But the closest I've come is this. I finally stopped assuming I knew everything. My buddy Josh cornered me at the gym one morning. What happened to the emotionally constipated Marine I've known for 15 years? I racked the weights, wiped sweat off my face, and told him the truth. I almost got divorced, I said. Then I didn't, because for once in my life I shut up and listened. He stared at me like I just admitted to practicing ballet. But it's the truth. Therapy taught me things I should have known years ago. That intel gathering isn't just for war zones and corporate security. It's for marriages too. Emotional reconnaissance. Listening between the lines. Asking questions instead of assuming motives. Checking the perimeter inside the house, not just outside. I think back to that night on the Foster's terrace. 5 minutes. A half-open door. A conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. It was the best recon mission I never planned. Not because it exposed a threat, but because it revealed an ally who was terrified, cornered, and signaling for help in a language I didn't recognize. Now, months later, Megan and I still slip up. I still fall into old habits sometimes. I still get quiet when I'm thinking too hard. She still tenses when she's overwhelmed. But the difference now is that we don't retreat into separate rooms or prepare our exit strategies. We stay. We talk. We gather accurate information before we make assumptions. Sometimes that means a 10-minute conversation. Sometimes it means a long walk through the neighborhood. Sometimes it means sitting in the dark together, saying nothing, just being in the same room on purpose. And when things go sideways, because they do, we meet each other at the table instead of the battlefield. Here's the truth I tell myself now. I was ready to walk away from my wife because I thought I already knew the whole story. But once I had the right intel, the mission changed. And this time, I'm not retreating.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.